with the Russian invasion now entering day 9 and shelling at the very crucial nuclear plant, one of the second largest there in Ukraine. Now, let me take you through the IAEA's concerns at this point of time. And now they have put out a tweet here saying that the IAEA Director General Rafael M. Grossi has spoken with the Ukraine Prime Minister and with the Ukrainian nuclear regulator and operator about serious situation at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant and has appealed for halt of use of force and warns of severe danger if the reactors hit. That's the very big concern there put out by the International Atomic Energy Agency. There on your screens you can see that tweet there. So it's really a matter of concern right now. What will happen if this nuclear plant blows up? The consequences will be very severe. And Samiksha, as you rightly put it, that it would be 10 times more than the Chernobyl disaster, which had triggered, in fact, the fall of the Soviet Union earlier, if you go back into the pages of history. And now, if this blows up, what will happen next? Now, you can also see next that the chance of hitting this nuclear power plant full scale by the Russians is very high. And also, I'd like to show you here a picture of the entire reactor at this point of time. The reactor, which is located very close to the shelling site, and the chance of hitting or ricocheting is very high. And you can just see here this map I'd like to be putting out for you here, this entire area of the nuclear power plant. And you can see here on your screens how there is a museum here. You can see the nuclear reactor here. If I like my camera person to just pan in these dots here, you can just see how there are 6 dots here, which means there are 6 nuclear reactors here at this particular power plant. You can see, and if these are hit by the shelling, then you can see that it really will turn into a major disaster at this point of time. So you can see how grave and how grim the situation is at this point of time, with all parties calling for an immediate ceasefire. They're calling on the Russian authorities to stop this war and to stop shelling at the Zaporizhia power plant, because the tragedy and the consequences will be very high. And the IAEA right now also putting out their concerns. They're saying that they have spoken with the Prime Minister of Ukraine. But you know, Samiksha, this is a war situation. Even if the IAEA has spoken with the Prime Minister of Ukraine, there's nothing much that can be done, because it has to be done from the Russian side. The Russians must stop this war. The Russians must stop shelling the nuclear power plant, because at this point of time, we're looking at heavy shelling, intense shelling there, and the firefighters have been allowed to enter this particular area to douse the flames that we are seeing. And there is a very high chance that shelling, the shelling will happen, which is very close to the nuclear reactors there. And also, we're getting latest news on the broadcast right now that a government official has also said that the elevated levels of the radiation were detected near the site of the Zaporizhia nuclear plant, which provides about 25% of Ukraine's power generation. So we're looking at a very grim situation here on day 9 in Ukraine as invasion continues by Russian forces.
Thanks, Crispino, for taking us through all the latest, and the viewers who are just joining us right now. Those are the visuals we are getting right now of the power plant in Ukraine, which is on fire as a result of the shelling by the Russian troops. In fact, all-out efforts to douse the flames there. In fact, important piece of information also coming in from the power plant spokesperson, who has said that at the moment the 3rd power plant has been shut down and only the 4th unit is working. The radiation and fire safety conditions at the nuclear power plant are within normal limits. So that's what we are learning right now. Of course, it remains to be seen what really Ukraine does next. And of course, all-out efforts there by the Ukraine government to douse the flames. It is also being said that if this blows up, it is going to be very catastrophic indeed, and it's going to be 10 times more than what we saw in the Chernobyl disaster. So, in fact, that's a tweet that has been put out, which says the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is under fire. The entire Europe is at risk of a repeat of the nuclear catastrophe. Russians must stop fire. This comes a day after round 2 of the talks were held between Russia and Ukraine, which did not really lead to any sort of an agreement or any sort of a ceasefire agreement. All eyes on round 3, but there Russia continuing with the shelling, bombardments and airstrikes in Ukraine from all the sides. Going again to Crispino for more on this. Crispino, over to you. What more can you tell us about this nuclear power plant which is on fire right now?
Samiksha, the advisor to the head of the office of the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has recently just put out a tweet here. His name is Mikhailo, and he has said that the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is under fire. The entire Europe is at risk of repeat of the nuclear catastrophe. Russians must stop fire. So we have this message being put out here by the advisor to Volodymyr Zelensky about the danger of fire.
And those are the visuals right now we are getting from Ukraine's largest power plant, which is on fire as a result of shelling by the Russian troops. And Ukraine government, they're claiming that it's going to be catastrophic if the reactors are hit. Warning of radiation spread if the reactors are hit, and the shelling that has now happened at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant by the Russian troops just a day after round 2 talks were held between Russia and Ukraine, which did not lead to any sort of an agreement or ceasefire agreement as such. So the situation remains absolutely grim. It is also being said that if this blows up, the disaster is going to be huge, 10 times more than what we saw during the Chernobyl disaster. The power plant that is now on fire is indeed Europe's largest nuclear plant, so the damage is going to be huge. And the power plant spokesperson also there saying that at the moment the third power unit has been shut down and only the fourth unit is working. The radiation and fire safety conditions at the nuclear power plant are within normal limits. So there we have the power plant spokesperson allaying some sort of fears there, saying that the radiation and fire safety conditions at the nuclear power plant are within the normal limits. But of course, there is a lot of danger that is lurking around the corner with the power plant that is now on fire. We also have some reactions also coming in. Let's listen in.
Вимагаю, зупиніться. Негайно перестаньте обстрілювати впритул Запорізьку атомну станцію. Вимагаю, зупиніться. Негайно перестаньте обстрілювати впритул Запорізьку атомну станцію.
So viewers who are just joining us, these are the visuals we are getting from the nuclear power plant in Ukraine, which is now on fire as a result of shelling and airstrike by the Russian troops. In fact, Ukraine's ambassador to the Czech Republic has also tweeted out saying that a fire has broken out which can result in a disaster 100 times larger than the Chernobyl. We ask the world to react immediately and introduce a safety zone as well, at risk to the whole world. So there we have a lot of reactions also pouring in with the power plant which is now on fire, which is indeed Europe's largest power plant. If this blows up, it's going to be 10 times more than what we saw during Chernobyl disaster. The US official also there saying that Biden just spoke to the Ukraine president about the nuclear power plant. So of course now the West also reacting. Many reactions coming in as far as the situation is concerned, which remains absolutely grim. What we're also getting to know is that President Biden held a telephonic conversation with Zelensky, and he discussed Ukraine's needs for additional military, economic and humanitarian assistance. So it remains to be seen what really happens next. The next step as far as evacuating those living in the nearby areas as well.